Hey everybody, I hope everybody's well. Today on the channel we're going to review the new album by the beautiful Beth Gibbons called Lives Outgrown.
You over there, don't pretend you're unaware. Realize the tenderness, appreciate the sweet caress.
Hey friends, it's Brent here, and today we're going to talk about which would be technically her first solo album, Beth Gibbons' Lives Outgrown. Now, for a little background, Beth Gibbons was the lyricist and the singer for Portishead back in the 90s, and they were one of the big trip hop bands out there, along with Massive Attack and a few others. If you're not familiar with them, I do suggest you check them out because her emotional take on her vocals and words is absolutely stunning. And since the 90s, she's released a very few albums. She released an album with Rustin Man called Out of Season, which is good. I suggest you pick that up as well. And she's been very elusive. She's, popped up here and there on different albums and things. But this year, we finally got word that she was having a solo album coming out, and it became one of the albums I was looking forward to the most of this 2024 year. And boy, did it ever pay off. And upon hearing that she was going to release something, I was very interested to see what direction she was going to go. Was she going to go more of the Rustin Man acoustic singer-songwriter approach, or was she going to throw some elements of Portishead in, or was she going to go completely electronic? What we get is maybe a little combination of each of those facets, and it really works here. And upon initial listen, I found that they were song-wise very experimental, and they you didn't get anything out of them at first. This album, to be truthful, took many listens before it finally clicked, and that to me is a sign of a great artist, that you always hear something new every time you listen. And even still today, there's still things when I listen to it that I'm picking out that I've never heard before, and that, like I said, is the true mark of a great musician. It appears that on this album, Beth has really not held back on anything. She's poured out her emotions into this album, and I think it's very therapeutic for her to do this. I like when musicians and artists do this because it gives them more humanity to their music, per se. All right, let's get into the album. The first song is a song called Tell Me Who You Are Today. And this is a pretty fascinating start to a great album. It's almost like a sampler of what different kinds of styles, emotions, instrumentation, lyrical content you're going to find on this album. And it is a great song, and it is one of my favorite on the album. I also find that this album has a very personal edge to it, and like a serious personal edge to it that I can definitely relate to. And I know people out there who listen to music for emotional reasons or get emotional things out of music. This song and this album you definitely must hear. And I would say this is very therapeutic for Beth herself. It just has that kind of a feel to it. And like I said earlier, you're definitely going to have to turn on your brain for this album because it is a little bit outside the box of what you would normally hear. It's very, like I said, inventive earlier, and it reminds me a lot of something that Radiohead would do, or The Smile. It's that kind of, I think, thought process that she shares with Tom York and company. And I find the album hops around quite a bit from genre to genre, which is also a good idea. It's not going to be a dull listen, and in no way is it. One thing about Beth that I really enjoy, and it's probably the reason I'm drawn to her, is her commanding vocal performance. She's patient, she's emotional, she knows just the right time to sing a lyric and have the music back it up on an emotional landscape, I guess would be a good way to put it. This is very much an adventurous album, does not sit still, and you have to give it all your patience and really listen to it on headphones because you're going to get a lot of ear candy, and it's a brilliant album that way. And I would even go as far as saying she's not playing anything safe. She's going out, she's playing what she wants to play, and if you like it, great. If you don't, well, I wouldn't know what to call it, but I think she's almost created her own genre, her own sound, which today on the musical platform, I think, and I find a lot of music, not just in regular prog, which I'm usually listening to, but there's a lot of sameness. There's no mistakes that you're picking up. Everything is lined up and perfect. Whereas you get songs and artists in the 70s, especially, that you're not always got the same beat or the time. It's going to, ebb and flow a little bit, and it doesn't sound perfect. And I think music should be that way. I hope that description was, not too hard to understand. Or, I'm going to probably repeat myself and say this quite often, but this is a very telling and personal sort of journey of a record for Beth, which has very intense moments as well as some actual very beautiful moments as well. And probably my ultimate song on this album that I would suggest anybody check out, and is definitely my favorite, not one of them, but the favorite, is a song called Lost Changes. This is probably the easiest track to get into, and it's got some killer pacing and a ton of absolute emotional tension. But at the same time, it also has a very old school singer-songwriter feel to it as well. And I can't think of any other tracks on the album that get much more beautiful than this song. And unfortunately, this is where I'm going to have to get a little bit picky. The next two songs, called Rewind and Reaching Out, I find are the weakest songs on the album, and they don't do much for anything for me. I kind of feel they're very obnoxious, and they don't necessarily fit in with the rest of the album. But having said that, like I said earlier, Beth does not hold back, and I mean, she's right to have songs like this on there. I mean, it's her music. I just don't think they fit the theme of the album as well as the rest of the tracks do. And we'll talk about another song on the album that I really, really like, and that is a track called Oceans. And this has got to be the most stripped down and genuinely ethereal tracks I've ever heard, and the one ethereal track on this album. And it easily, to me, is one of the most tortured and haunted and truly chilling songs on the album. A definite highlight, and one you should also check out. And as far as instrumentally, I think this is where Beth is the most comfortable. Everything about this song, from lyrics to music to emotion, is all right where they should be. And then finally, we're going to come to the end of the album and a song called Whispering Love. This is a heavenly song and has got to be one of the most lightest and sobering moments on the album. A great way to end an album, in my opinion. And as final thoughts on the album, this is a real sobering, beautiful listen that shows Beth still has what it takes to come across emotional and beautiful, very personal album. She has so much to offer on this album, and I hope she offers the same kind of output in the future, because we need more Beth Gibbons in our lives. And waiting, what has it been, 10 plus years for an album, it's too long, Beth. Please put out more music sooner than later. And as a final rating, I'm going to give this album 3.5 stars. I can't recommend it enough. You need to check it out. If you're a fan of Portishead, even if you're not, check Portishead out as well. But you owe it to yourself to check this album out. And as usual, if I have the physical format, I will show it. So here is the front of the CD. The back. Sorry for any glare. Front of the CD. of the booklet. There's a picture of Beth, then some credits. And then we have the lyrics. More lyrics. Sensing a bit of a theme here. More lyrics. More lyrics. Lyrics. And another picture of Beth. Then there's the back. Great, guys. Right, we'll see you again. Bye.